the Alarm DFS podcast with hosts Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS Playbook live stream and podcast. Today, we are breaking down the 7-game early slate on DraftKings. We have a split slate day here on a Wednesday with a 6-game main, 7-game early, kicking off at 1:10 Eastern. So we will be back live 5 o'clock Eastern time to break down the main slate, but we'll give you the podcast for the early 7-gamer today. James, my friend, man, how we doing?
Doing well. Interesting slate. Finally, some good pitching. I feel like the good pitching has evaded us over the last couple of slates, and finally rotations are flipping. Aces galore on this early slate. At least aces, somewhat aces. So
a couple
should be
guys we can use. A few useful
should be a fun 7-gamer to kick off the day, and like you mentioned, we're gonna have another 6 games in the evening.
Yep, 100%. Love day baseball. Get that action in as much as you can here. Go to Real Time Fantasy Sports for some DFS pick and plays. Go to rtsports.com/alarm. Promo code alarm23 will get new users a 100% deposit match with their first deposit. Scan the QR code here on the screen. Click the link in the description if you want to as well. Get that deposit match. Go play some DFS pick'em games. James and I will give our RT Sports DFS pick'em plays of the day for the 5 o'clock live stream here. So make sure you tune back in for that. James, turning our attention to this main slate here. What sticks out to you in terms of matchups today?
In terms of matchups, I mean, obviously seeing Ohtani back on the mound is interesting against a team in Cincinnati that strikes out a lot. Same thing can be said for Corbin Burns. Will we get the Corbin Burns that strikes a lot of people out or not? Like, it's been very inconsistent this year. When he's good, he's as good as anyone. When he's not, he has a decent floor, but it's been a little disappointing. I think the KC Oakland game is going to be one that a lot of people look to attack with offense. That game, let's see what the game total. That game actually only has a 7.5 implied open, which I'm kind of surprised by, but we'll see if that rises throughout the day. Nothing really stands out on the Vegas front though, John. There's 8.5, 9. So let's get into it and break down. Everything.
Interesting from a pitching standpoint, as you said. One, we have Ohtani here at home against Cincinnati at 11-2. We got Corbin Burns against Minnesota at 10-5. Made on the opposite side of that matchup at 9-2, and then Abbott on the opposite side of Ohtani at 9K. So the top 4 price pitchers on this slate are up against one another here. We love the strikeout potential for Burns here against Minnesota and Ohtani for Cincinnati. How are you prioritizing, I guess, these top 4 starters, man?
I mean, Ohtani is obviously great when he stays in games. It's just been so inconsistent with that, like injury, like blister, whatever it's been. So I would only play him in tournaments. I really like Corbin Burns for all formats. I know he struggled against the White Sox, but bounced back in a big way, and he had been rolling before that. So I love Corbin Burns. His last 10 starts, 2.7 ERA, 22 fantasy points. Opponents hitting 158 against him. So I would prioritize Corbin Burns over the bunch. If I'm ranking just the 4K guys, Burns, Ohtani, Maeda, Abbott. But Burns would really be the priority for me.
I'm with you there. I think Burns against Minnesota, just that strikeout appeal is super interesting to me. And then you have George Kirby here against the White Sox at $8,700.
Yep.
Obviously, a little tough outing against KC, but a lot of people can say that these days. Before that, he had the complete game shutout against Baltimore, strong starts against LA and Boston. Has shown some strikeout appeal. Obviously, both those starts against Minnesota, 10-9, mixed in with a couple of 7 strikeout games in there as well. So the White Sox, another team that should present a good matchup here for Kirby. Do the White Sox hitters get invigorated by them firing their general manager? Like, I know everybody hates the upper management in Chicago that plays for Chicago, but Kirby at 87, look what we've been paying for him, right? 98, 10K, right. 10K. Didn't really do much to deserve a drop down here. I'd be running right back to that well.
Yeah, I'm going right back to the well with Kirby. He's a fantastic play at 8,700. I don't have much to add. The White Sox are abysmal. Lefties hurt George Kirby, and it's a broken record at this point, John. I say it. I've said it 1,000 times. The White Sox don't have
Right.
lefties that hurt anybody here. So as long as there's no lefties in play, I'm going right back to anyone against the Chicago
Right.
White Sox.
Below him, Sandy here, again, maybe like slowly starting to round into form,
Yep.
right? Shuts a not complete game against New York, had a complete game against Tampa Bay, 8 shutout against Philly, little beat up against Texas in Texas, tough start, but bounces back in LA, 6-3 with 6 Ks here, now going up against a Padres team that against right-handed pitching this year has not been very good.
Yeah, I think Sandy's actually a great play here. Because the Padres, like you said, they are very split, dominant. They are good against lefties. They have not been that good outside of like Soto. It's another lineup that doesn't really have
Right.
lefties. I mean, Cronenworth has been disappointing until really the All-Star break. Grisham has been terrible, and that's their lefties. Like that's the end of the list along with Soto. So, yeah, I do like Sandy 8,200, and like you just mentioned the Kirby thing, another guy that was 9,600 in his
Right.
last start and is now 8,200 on this slate. 86, 89, 96, and now 82. So, yeah, I think there's merit to playing most of this top tier. But I mean,
I'll say the inevitable here with Lorenzen
yeah,
after the no hitter that he would get absolutely shelled by Washington.
yep,
But the
yep.
Giants, statistically, one of the worst teams in baseball against right-handed pitching. Um, Tyon has been much better on the road this year than at home of late. I know Detroit's been really good, but he went out against Kansas City and held them to 2 earned. In that game, Lugo gets Miami. I mean, are we have any interest here? Cole Reagan's the way he's been pitching lately. I mean, he's been pretty good. Strikeouts 8, 11, 5, and 9 in the last 4 for him. Could be chalky against Oakland here.
Yeah, I bet you a lot of people get to Reagan's at 54. That's a good spot because he has been pretty good outside that St. Louis start. We know St. Louis can hit lefties. And what do you worry about in Oakland? You worry about Rooker, Geloff, who's done all of his damage essentially against
Yeah.
righties. I like Cole Reagan's. I'm trying to look up what we have lately for splits against lefties because for the Cubs, look, because let's face it, like I know Tarek Skubal's been a little inconsistent, but he's not a
No,
$7,200
he's
pitcher.
not.
This is and if
There's a pitch
there's
count thing
been
early on, but I think the pitch
regression,
count's gone now, right? Like,
yeah, we thrown 90 pitches and 88
yeah,
pitches in his last 2 starts. Like we're not worried really about a pitch count. So I'm just taking a look. I just wanted to see what the Cubs have done. OPS wise. So the Cubs are 18th, John. Listen to this. In the month of August, 18th in OPS. They're 19th in WOBA 290, 29% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching this
yeah,
year. So, or in August, sorry, in August. I'm just saying, Skubal coming off 7 strikeouts in 6 innings. We've seen now 6 strikeouts. He's made 8 starts. He's had 6 or more strikeouts in 4 of them. So he's been up and down. But look at the ceiling. Like 3 of his last 5 starts, 27, 24, 32 fantasy points for Tarek Skubal.
yeah.
So 7,200 for me is too
Yeah,
cheap.
this is an interesting slate because I think there's some pretty decent value that we can get to here. Again, the Boston team, they hit him up in that game, but like you mentioned, struck out 7
Sure.
Guardians, a team that doesn't strike out at all. I mean, I'm with you.
Yep.
This dude was legit. He's coming back into form here. Cubs still scare me. I understand you read off the numbers.
Yes.
They have that a lot of talent, but maybe they were also had some outliers. I mean, Bellinger was smoking lefties all year, right? Like as a lefty, if that
Yep.
starts to come back down a little bit, Morel's a big swing and miss guy, so I could see it. Say Happ, Talkman, those guys were all kind of, for lack of a better terms, like playing above their heads for a bit there. So if they do start to come down,
Yeah.
could catch Skubal here in a good spot. I agree. Like you said, one of the best pitching slates I think we've seen in a little bit here, top to bottom, you can use for sure. Infield spots then. I mean, obviously that has to make it a little bit different for guys that you want to target. I'm still a believer in the Andrew Abbott regression. You have you have the Angels here. Now you can't use Ohtani, but Mike Trout did return to the lineup. Does he play back-to-back days? That is certainly something to wonder about.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a good question. I mean, we read the comments as well that he said he was sore, but they're running out of time, so they need to get him back in the lineup. Who knows if that means he's playing through it? That feels like he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna play through it, right? Because we're running out of time. Like you said, it remains to be seen. If Mike Trout's in the lineup, yeah, I mean, obviously,
But how does that impact,
he
obviously,
isn't
how you approach the rest of your lineup? Like Moustakis, Drury, Chanel. Like, this is a lefty that's on the mound here. So maybe
right.
Rengifo and Drury get some looks in the infield for us here.
Yeah, sure. And you mentioned it on Tuesday slate, Drury 3,800. He's still 3,800. Like he's just as cheap as he was for a guy who's kind of coming into his own. So I do like the Angels shout against Andrew Abbott there. I also like Bobby Witt getting Kyle Muller here, or
At least
supposedly
for
Kyle
now.
Muller. We'll see what at least for now, we'll see what Oakland decides. They've also been a team going with openers for a lot of the last couple months, so that's definitely in play.
Alex Cobb's been
Dude,
pretty bad
Philly,
lately.
yeah, it's gotta be. There has to be interest in Philly here, just given what Alex Cobb has been, and you talked about
Harper.
as a Bryce Harper seasonal
Yeah.
drafter, you're finally getting the power. He hit his 9th home run on Monday or on Tuesday rather. Trey
He's at his
Turner
11th home run. He's at 11
still
now.
11 home runs. Sorry, excuse me, 11 misspoke. And then Trey Turner's obviously been really good lately. I mean, you gotta the Philly. And Alec Boehm has been as
You've
good as
always been on
anybody in
Stott
Philly's
this
offense.
year, right? Like,
Yep, yep, yep. Bryson Stott as well. So the Philly's infield looks really,
yeah,
really good.
I agree with you 100% there as well. You mentioned Bobby Witt already. Anybody else in terms of like stacks or lineups that you have interest in tacking here?
Maikel Garcia, third
Sure.
baseman, 4,100, looks really good. We mentioned Drury. Maeda can be hit up by lefties. You've been talking about the Carlos Santana
Yeah.
power surge of late, so keep that
Candelario
in
just went
in your
Yabo
mind.
tonight. If you're not in on Scooble, does have the lefty spot
Yep.
there for him.
And for what it's worth, like Michael Lorenzen is coming off a brutal outing, right? Like Wilmer Flores, if there's one giant that I would probably play, the guy has just been really good. Like he has been one of the biggest surprises, I think, across baseball. Heading into Tuesday's action, 304, 17 home runs for Wilmer. So I could see myself getting to some Wilmer Flores for some cheap.
I agree with you.
cheap
I like that call.
cheap.
Again, who knows? We've seen it time and time again, right? These pitchers throw these no hitters. I mean, the Framber thing is kind of an anomaly because he was bad, throws a no hitter, and has been terrible again since. But
Again, it's crazy.
Some of these guys they get extended too much and they throw their arms out. So
Johan Santana he threw that 150 pitch no hitter with the Mets and then never pitched
pretty
again.
much. All right, let's move on over to the outfield position here then. Different look to the top priced outfielders on a slate like this where Tatis at 63 is your top guy, Trout at 61, Bellinger 61. Again, I'm fine with Trout's in the lineup. I don't think I'm getting to either of the other two. Soto against Alcantara, I don't love. I would play J-Rod, but he got scratched on Tuesday, so we have to see what's going on with that. Schwarber's always a home run or bust guy at $5,400, but could get to certainly him with Cobb. Where are you attacking the outfield? Because I don't see much I am Jones in to pay up for here.
So we didn't mention Seattle, I guess, in the infield enough, John. Just recircling back to that with Kopech on the mound. Cal Raleigh is obviously a double dong candidate. JP Crawford, 43. They've been really, really good. Ty France is someone that you and I talked about. So just circling back there. But in terms of outfield, if J-Rod's in the lineup, he's probably the guy for me. But you're right. I think other than that,
I'm so used to seeing like Acuna and Tucker and
I
all those
know.
guys, and they're not here, so.
I would say Schwarber would probably be the guy, and he's going to strike out a lot, but like even just like look through the box scores, it's crazy to see this. Like he's hitting less than 200, and he has 33 home runs, almost 80 runs scored, and 80 RBIs. Like what simulation are we living in that these are like the numbers for Kyle Schwarber this year? So it's probably J-Rod and Schwarber for me at the
Yeah,
top.
I'm with you there. Moving down into the mid-tier range then, if you're not in on Lugo, Chisholm's here is $4,800, right? I know you were high on him a couple of days ago. Riley Green against Tyon's 46. That feels like a pretty good spot for him there to get in some action. Again, more if you're not in on Scooble, you have some of these Cubs. Carpenter against Tyon at 42, Teoscar at 41. So 4K range looks pretty solid.
Dude, Kerry Carpenter has so many home runs lately. He has so many. He has 7 home runs in his last 10 games.
That seems decent.
7. Yes. 351, 1400 OPS over that span. He seems like a lock and load in the mid tier. If not playing Reagans, like I can get to Rooker, who hit the walk off on Monday, home runs in back to back games. So yeah, I think there's some really really interesting mid tier plays, and then of course there's also interesting value in like Cade Marlowe, who's been really decent for Seattle, and Canzoni, who's been really decent for Seattle. Akil Baddoo, who's been interesting for Detroit. So, how about Hunter Renfroe fall from grace here,
Yeah.
huh? $3,000.
Yeah, I mean, who knows where he even now has like a role right in this way with everybody coming back and the way they've been moving things around. I'm with you there. Could be interesting for him. Trying to see. I mean, we talked obviously about Seattle, Marlowe and that crew. It'd be interesting to see if Mueller, how long he pitches for. I mean, I like the cheap KC guys. I know you mentioned Baddoo already.
I mean, he pitched on the 18th and he threw 3 1/3, 6 hits, 2 runs, 67 pitches. But he had been used like traditional starter prior to that, like all 90 plus pitches. So
I used Jake Cave the other day. Cave, whatever.
Yep.
Ex-Yankee
great.
He homered for me, but he also has homers in now 3 of his last 5.
And they're playing him. They got Marsh back and still played him over Marsh. Like twice.
So I mean, you want a way to fit Harper and Schwarber or Harper and Turner. Jake Cave is it could definitely be the answer to that.
Yeah, you want cheap Philly? You want a way to fit in Trey Turner?
And he's homering, right? So like,
yeah,
like that's the way to go about it here. I think.
Yeah, I think the J Cave. Yeah, I think the J Cave call is a really good one. I think he's been one of their best hitters, which is weird, but I don't really see like. I guess I would play another Philly, just pile on. Johan Rojas is another Philly, has some speed. He's hitting 296 at the bottom of this lineup.
Yeah, so, no, he's been good.
Maybe some Johan Rojas.
They've been getting him involved there. All right, let's build a lineup here. It should be pretty interesting the way we go. I think we could probably build 100 lineups at this point.
Yep.
What's your number one pitcher?
Per dollar, I plugged Kirby right off the bat. I don't know.
No, I'm good with it.
If he is the
would you go pitcher, Kirby and Reagans here, and we can just buy all the hitters we want?
I don't dislike that idea.
We have 4,400 to play.
You can just buy all the hitters we want. Yeah, I mean,
whoever you want.
Well,
Furman at 33 against Mueller.
Bryce.
Yeah.
Right, spend up on Harper,
Stott, and Schwarbs, just like lock.
And then we could go Cave as go full 4-man on Philly here.
45-50 still a play.
Ooh, Seattle. Or KC. We can get Bobby
Probably
Witt.
just shortstop only. I mean, I was thinking like go Witt at 62, Furman, a catcher at 33.
And Garcia, possibly. At third, 4,100.
Not for that.
A 3-man.
$4,600 outfielder. Riley Green against Tyon. Castellanos just a 5-sack it against Cobb.
Could. Or Carpenter, 42 for just like literally home runs every other day.
Man, interesting. So how do you want to go with it? Do you like Riley, Castellanos, Carpenter? Which one would you rock?
Any or all.
Like, I mean,
I think they're all good plays, I think.
What if we got rid of Cave? Is there another $2,400 outfield that we like kind of peaked at?
2,400.
No, I guess not. I was thinking if there wasn't like another like obvious spend down. So
it's Darian Blanco.
Yeah,
to finish the KC
or
stack
Olivares, probably right.
Oh, yeah, or Olivares. Yeah,
guess not.
Olivares got options, so yeah.
All right, let's go back to Cave then. Would you rather Castellanos or Schwarber? Let's go that way.
Probably the upside feels like Schwarber, right? But
we'd have a $5,400 outfielder. It's the same money. It's the same money. We just like figured that out.
Yeah, I would say Schwarber and then one of the Detroit.
Okay, I like Riley Green. I just feel like I know Carpenter's been so. I mean, 7 homer sheets. All right.
Dude, yeah.
That's good. So Kirby, Reagan, Furman, Harper, Stott, Garcia, Witt, Schwarber, Cave, and Carpenter. An example lineup here for the early slate. Get us into Discord. If you have any questions, James and I will be back live 5 o'clock Eastern for the main slate. Good luck. We'll talk to you then.